them say, oh, we saw the person, but what is it that the police need? It's a problem. My brother mentioned the fact that people are not prepared to come out as witnesses in a case. Why? Because they fear that they cannot be protected after coming in as a witness. What have we done as a country to demystify that one and then to assure them that you'll be protected? Again, the slow pace of investigations and the police inability to even secure conviction.
Doc, isn't it a case that sometimes those who position themselves as witnesses may be accomplices in disguise without really knowing who they are? Especially in this case that happened at Denchamubuasi. We had people who said, yes, I was there when everything happened, I saw everything, I was there when it started, I was there when it ended. And this person says, I'm willing to support investigation. Is he an accomplice? In situations like this, how should people position themselves?
No, in situations like this, if you have some evidence to offer, you give it to the police and then be prepared to go to court to testify further. In fact, the evidence decree is clear on who qualifies to give evidence as a witness. So, and if you give evidence as a witness under oath, they tell you that, look, if it is a lie and you believe it is not true, you are cited for perjury. All these things people must understand. But I think that it gets to a point where our security agencies are very slow in responding. I have a clear-cut example. My own brother was killed, or he died in a hotel mysteriously. A diplomat who is in Ghana to celebrate Christmas, he arrived on the 25th, checked into a hotel. On the 27th morning, we met him dead in the hotel. We reported the case. For the past 1.5 years, the case moved from Legon to the police headquarters. I met with the Director General CID. Up until today, they've not been able to do anything about it. So if you see things like this happening, then people can pour out their frustration. But the solution is, let us raise the awareness of Ghanaians. Let us educate them on the kinds of evidence they need to gather immediately at a crime scene before even the police comes. And then let us assure them that if they come in boldly to testify as witnesses in a case, they will be protected.
Dr. Afrokwa, the use of, Dr. Baole says social media has compounded our problem and use some very harsh words to explain how we use our cameras to take pictures. But aren't these useful evidence that supports a case? And Doc is also talking about what you can do, what can you gather to support investigation. So if I have a phone and I can take moving pictures, I can take still pictures, am I not helping the case?
Well, you may be helping the case, you may not be helping the case. I mean, the evidence, the law of evidence,
the source of evidence, or
the chain of custody of the evidence is also very crucial. So the best way is that if you meet a crime scene or you meet an accident scene, whatever it is you meet, you need to help secure it. So you need to make sure that people get out of the crime scene as much as possible until the professionals arrive. Because if you pick any evidence without wearing gloves, you are leaving your fingerprints on the evidence. I mean, you are putting yourself in the crime scene. You are gradually becoming a suspect in the crime scene. So, as Dr. Baole said, by the time you realize, you might be on remand for something you have not done. So we need to educate the people. As Dr. Sai said, I mean, education is key. We have not been able to educate our people, and that is what is getting us to this level. I mean, the police at times I sympathize with my colleagues in the police. I sympathize with them a lot because they are handicapped. I mean, they do not have, the skill, they do not have the accoutrements to be able to gather the necessary reliable evidence for prosecution. So, Doc said that, I mean, the person is innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. So the case is always very easy for the defendant. Yes. I mean, immediately you introduce a level of doubt, the person goes scot-free. So you need to get very credible evidence. If somebody, and let me give you this instance. There was an instance of an armed robbery attack in one house. The person went shooting the house anyhow. So there were cartridges and bullet cases in the house, scattered in the house. The police arrived. This policeman has arrived at the crime scene. He sees some of the bullet casings, picks them. On his way, I mean, he didn't wear any gloves. On his way, he remembers that, okay, he shouldn't have picked them. Maybe he should have marked it or So he sends a passerby, he sends him with the cases, go put them back in the house. I'll send my people to come for it. I mean, so that evidence is destroyed.
Wow.
It's destroyed. So that,
but that is a clear case of non-professionalism.
Exactly.
This is a policeman who is not trained properly.
But he's not trained. I mean, the police at times are helpless. We need to give them the requisite training, and after training them, we need to give them the requisite tools to conduct some of these investigations. I mean, if you don't have it, what can you do? Nothing. If you don't have the skill, you don't have the tool. You're helpless. So some of these cases which go to court and come back without any conviction, at times we blame the police. Discharged. I mean, the person will be discharged, and we keep blaming the police.
No, they are in the position of responsibility. So they just need to do their job.
I understand, but how
we cannot hold brief for an institution that is mandated to protect its people.
Well, we wouldn't be on air. We wouldn't be on air if TV3 didn't have cameras.
Definitely.
You get me?
But TV3 is in the business of news, and that's why we need to have cameras.
Well,
so if Ghana Police is in the business of security and protection,
so government should resource our police, the CID especially. I was very happy when I met the IGP once, and he says that he has an aim of revamping the CID. I mean, he telling me that alone gave me the assurance that we have a bright future ahead. He has the aim of revamping the CID so that they can prevent and combat crime. So if we are able to do that, if we're able to give them that skill of getting credible evidence, when they go to court, I mean, the conviction rates will begin to increase. When people commit crime,
and then the confidence will increase.
Exactly.
Okay. So on that note, we'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll look at the role of the media and how we have or not helped this case. We'll be back shortly.
Ghana's Most Beautiful, coming soon on TV3.
Yeah, welcome back. This is Agenda. We're looking at mob justice prevention or mob violence prevention and how we as a country can learn and make sure that we deal with this decisively. Doug, how has the media helped or not helped the case? Dr. Bowley.
Okay, so I think that by and large, the coverage was, for me, it was okay, except that as a people, we must begin to look at, in more broader terms, how we disseminate information about people when they experience such unfortunate incidents. Recently, there was a bombing incident in Manchester. Not a single picture of a dead or mutilated body was seen on social media or even in the media. I remember how the British authorities got angry at the US authorities for showing some evidence, that they had passed on to them. And so I think that on a broader scale, the media didn't do bad in terms of bringing the story up and reporting and following it up. And I think that we should keep following, that we should get the media to keep following up. On social media, it was completely difficult to manage. And this morning I was in my church advising everybody to be careful the way we pass on information, many of which are very difficult. But so on that level, I think we need to find a way to manage it, because in the end we are likely to even get a lot of people in trouble when in fact those people are not. If you look at some of the videos that were shared, there's a woman that, I mean, this is a case in court. There was a woman that was said to be lighting a match. When I watched a certain portion of the video, I actually found that it was a video. I think she was taking a picture of the dead body or something. So it appears that the way the story is carried, we are not careful, we might end up prejudicing the case in court. So the media should be very circumspect in the way that we deal with it. But you said we have 5 minutes. Perhaps this is probably going to be the last thing that I'm going to get.
Oh no, you have a lot.
All right, okay, okay. But otherwise, I was going to look at just a little bit of the story in terms of the profile of people who are likely to do this kind of thing. Research shows that more educated people do less mob injustice or mob action. Research shows that workers for public sector institutions are more trusting of public sector institutions and therefore will not take the law into their own hands. Research shows that women tend to trust government institutions or state institutions and therefore will not do this kind of things. It shows that as people increase in age, they are less likely to do what has just happened. And it also shows that people who are richer or are not poor would do less and less of mob, action and mob injustice. What it means is that for us to prevent this from happening, we need to look at a number of things, a number of pillars we need to look at. Education is very crucial. The more people we keep educating, the less likely that we will have incidents like this, and that we need to get women who are at crime scenes to bring up their feminine touch to get the sensibility of the people who are there and causing mayhem. And we need to be focusing more on young people, and that would tie into a very bigger issue about whether or not people find jobs to do, what do they do, and whether or not they have incomes and all of that. And if they are not, they are angry with the system as a whole. And so if he has 50 cedis or something and somebody steals it and then the person can get away, there's the tendency that they might get angry and might vent the anger on victims that may not actually be guilty of the events that are happening at a particular time. So that's what I thought I wanted to say.
That's very important. Doc, the role of the district assemblies, assemblymen, and all the local government structures that we are supposed to put in place or are in place in preventing some of these things.
And I think when it comes to, this is decentralized security management, and at that particular level, you have the District Security Committee that is chaired by the District Chief Executive and other security officers in that particular district. And under normal circumstances, when you look at the Securities and Intelligence Act, the role of the District Security Committee is to provide early warning signals to government on issues of security in that particular area of jurisdiction. The assembly member is not a member of the District Security Committee. However, because the Chief Executive is the chair of the District Security Committee, anytime they attend assembly meetings, the Chief Executive is expected to brief them. And if you're an assembly member, as part of your duties, is to make sure that you also give feedback to the DCE, who is the chair of the District Security Committee. However, it seems to me that we are having capacity challenges because some of the assembly members really do not understand their duties under the Local Governance Act. And then some of the chief executives too may also need to be properly oriented when it comes to how to perform their functions as chair of district security committees.
And we know the case in Somanya and the case at Densham. In both cases, assemblymen have played some very significant role in those cases. What does this tell us about the role and the power that is ruled by assembly people? And how should we start looking at assemblymen, election appointments, and all that?
I think it all boils down to capacities and awareness raising, whether or not they are aware of their functions and the capacity and the training they have. But then if we go all out to say that we are going to elect assembly members, that won't be bad at all. But then election does not really produce the most competent person. It produces the most popular person. And the most popular person will not necessarily bring the best issue or bring the best on board when it comes to proper governance. If we can learn from Zambia, they set a minimum qualification for someone to become a councillor. You should have attained a grade 12 certificate, which is the equivalent of our BEC or in any other such qualification. So if you set a qualification criteria, it will help the person to appreciate and understand the duties of an assembly member and his role at that particular governance unit. So that is where I think we should be going. As for the elections, if I have my way out, I would say that we should elect all the assembly members without even appointing any of them.
Any of them. Yes. Doc, how should we position ourselves as a country to deal with this whole issue of mob justice? Apart from what happened at the Chamobas, we also saw what happened at Somanya. The high level of impunity, because if people can go to a police station and burn a police vehicle, that is the institution where you run to when you are in trouble, and that institution was under attack. Weakness within the institution or just lawlessness at its peak?
Well, Dr. Bawale summarized everything with the research he was talking about. Is that research showed that poorer people are more likely to get involved in these mob actions. People with low economic income, young men. So I wrote something here that a poor, uneducated, unemployed young man is definitely a frustrated one. If the person is poor, the person does not have any education, the person does not have any employment, I mean no source of income,
there's no hope.
No hope, and that person is young, I mean to easily, and if you look at the violence we even get during our election years, you see, these are the people we target to get them to do the violence for us. So the best thing for us to do is to make sure that our youth get some level of education. It may not necessarily be formal education, but we need to educate ourselves anyway, whether formal or informal, and get the young men of this country working. We should get them busy doing something. I mean, if you go out there and then you take a survey of these young men we have in our country, most of them would like to find themselves in these white-collar jobs and all. But is that the only source of living? We need to begin to educate ourselves and get somebody who does carpentry. I mean, it will surprise you that if you ask a carpenter, an ordinary carpenter on the street, that what job do you do? You say, I'm unemployed. Meanwhile, the person has a skill to do something. These shoemakers, people have some basic skill that we can work with. Let us get them doing something. I mean, if they find their hands on something and they are doing, they are not idle to get involved in some of these mob actions. We need to educate our people. We need to find them something to do. We need to give them some hope. If we begin to do some of these things, you realize that automatically some of these mob injustice will begin to come down. If not, and our people, increasingly, young people are becoming frustrated through uneducation, through unemployment, and it will be very difficult to tackle some of these things.
Dr. Baole, some have called for this case to be shown on national television. The trial should be on national television because people are so passionate and emotionally attached to the issues. Would that resolve the issues? Would that give us some lessons? Or we just need to make sure that the perpetrators are brought to book?
I did a survey of 538 students in 2012. In fact, the survey was over a period of 2 years, asking students how they would behave if they found themselves in a particular situation. And in this case, it was an ethics class, so how they would behave if they found themselves in a place where somebody gave them big bribe money. And you found out that more and more, less and less numbers of the students would refrain from taking bribe money if they know that there is an institution that would punish them severely. Less and less of them are willing to take the bribe if they found out that if they found out that there were institutions that would do thorough investigation, and that if they would be named and shamed, less and less of them would want to participate, and that if they knew that they could get a jail term that would last them for ages, they would not participate. In fact, some 13% of the students would take the money irrespective of what happens to them. But you can get up to 87% of the students say that if this would happen, I will not engage in. And that's why I think that a live telecast of this case might educate people about what individuals stand to lose if they get involved in events like this. Because during the mob actions, people usually get depersonalized. So it's group effect, everybody is going. But if you have seen how somebody who was involved had to suffer in court before, you would definitely think twice when you are approaching a scene like that. People will start running away anytime they hear, because they know that this is what happened to some other people who were caught. So I support it. I'm not sure whether it's completely legal, but from an institutional perspective, I think that it will have some soothing effect on the Ghanaian.
Doc, from a legal perspective, what would you?
Yes.
What would be your recommendation?
I would say it will be dangerous for us to live telecast this unless we do a fine blend between protecting the witnesses as against sending a deterrent signal by way of the trial. Because in law, if you are even a witness in the case and you sit in court, the judge, before the first person gives his evidence, they will tell you that any witness in this case should be out of sight and out of hearing. Why do we do that? So that you don't get compromised by the evidence given by the witness. In certain cases, we have witnesses coming to give witness in camera because we want to protect their identity. And we also want a situation where the signal will not be sent as if a lawyer is grilling somebody, as it were, in court, too much. So I think it's good. It will send a deterrent signal, but we should do it well in such a way that we can protect the witnesses. Because you can have a star witness who can give credible, relevant, and reliable evidence that can help the prosecution to secure conviction. But after that, what becomes of the witness? So we have to be very careful about this. It is good if it is to send a deterrent signal to people, but then we should do it in such a way that we should not also violate the rights of the witnesses and then also put the witness life in danger, unless we have institutions that can support this witness throughout the witness life.
Doug, in a minute, give us your take home. What should we take home moving forward? This case is under investigation. We are all very expectant. What should we be focusing on?
My take home is that the security agencies should be very careful with the investigations they are gathering, so as not to give opportunity for the witness to raise a reasonable doubt. Security agencies to create confidence in the people, so that people will have confidence in them and know that when matter comes to them, they will deal with it expeditiously. Security agencies must not do selective application of justice. They should make sure that in the same vein that they've treated this particular case with the importance that it deserves, they should approach it in same manner and same form if it happens to any Ghanaian. I hope it doesn't happen anyway.
Oh. In a minute.
Yeah, my take home will be that government should resource our police officers in order for them to do their work. They may want, I'm sure they would like to see this matter bring to a good conclusion. I mean, all the people involved in it get some conviction for them to serve as a deterrent for others who would like to engage in mob actions. But then, if there is reasonable doubt, there isn't going to be any conviction. So government should resource our police officers.
The investigation is airtight.
Exactly.
Airtight investigation.
Exactly.
Dr. Baoli.
I will have a few things to say. One, to institutions, state institutions, the level of confidence and trust we are able to build in them, in their citizens, would influence the extent to which people want to come to us and trust that we do the good things. Let the police continue to work hard, but let the police continue to give people signals that it's a service that they can trust. Not just that, but for all other state institutions, that people can come to you and hope that they can get justice. In cases where they cannot get justice, I think it should be clear to those people why they can't get justice. So let state institutions be forthright with information. If cases don't go in the favor of people, let them know. Let the police service avoid situations where sometimes you see clear collusion between people who are supposed to be at the wrong side of the law and they themselves. So we think that the police service should keep working and keep working. But also to young men and women out there, I think that what you don't want to do is to put your life in danger. For many of these young men who are involved in these things, if they are convicted, you may have a bright life, perhaps as bright as the person who died, but you just ended that just because you participated in an event. For Ghanaians, let's be careful the way we circulate information on social media. This man is somebody's. If you look at the wife and children, I get so touched when I see the picture of the woman and the children. Let's be mindful of the sensitivities of other families and people. Let's keep praying for this woman and her children, and let's all be each other's keeper. The fact that somebody shouted a wheel does not automatically make somebody an AV. Let's trust that our police institutions will work. And even if somebody was an AV, I think an AV gets more punishment for serving in jail than being killed. Let's not kill people just because we suspect that they have infringed upon law. Let's allow them to serve jail sentences if they are found guilty. It might just be you who would be yelled at a view when you are not an.
And then you get into trouble.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Richmond, the Fuakwa, Dr. Justice Baole, and Dr. Eric Odrosai. Thank you so much for throwing more light and giving us additional education on this very important lawlessness that was perpetrated in Dencham Obuasi. Late Captain Maxwell Adam Mahama has paid the price, and hopefully this case will receive the needed attention and will serve as a lesson for generations unborn. Hopefully next week, same time, I'll bring you another show. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Thanks to the production team, and thanks to you for being part of this show. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a productive week next week. Bye.